welcome you to Disability Pride PA. My name is Connie Van Drakis. I work for Disability Pride Pennsylvania, and I'm also a board member. I am a white middle-aged woman with my hair in a ponytail. I have glasses, and I'm wearing a purple shirt. In my background, there is a spiral staircase and a plant. I have the esteemed privilege of introducing the chair of Disability Pride PA, my friend, Charles, as we know him, Chuck Horton. Chuck, would you like to take it from here and introduce your wonderful panel with us?
Yes, thank you, everybody. I'm Charles Chuck Horton. I go by both of those. Anyone you call me works. I just want to thank everybody that's on the panel for coming out and everybody that's viewing today. First, I want to introduce myself, an introduction, proper introduction. And while we do this is for individuals who are blind or have low vision that can't see, they would like to get a visual picture of who we are. So I'm African-American male. I have salt and pepper beard, which is more salt and pepper right now. I have locks, what people call dreadlocks. I have a black shirt on, and behind me is I'm in front of a tan wall, and it's actually my name is on the wall. I kind of like my name, but so that's an introduction of me. I am the chair. I'm the chair of the board for Disability Pride. I'm also the senior director of advocacy and inclusion for English. And I just want to go around and have people introduce themselves. We're gonna start with D. D, we're gonna turn on your voice. Everybody on the panel can actually turn on your mics if you want to. You don't have to leave them off.
Okay, my mic is on.
Okay, thanks, D. Just do an introduction of yourself.
So my name is Deidre Counts Burnett. It's easier to remember D. That's my nickname. That's what I go by. I am actually at work right now. And I went to high school with Chuck. We graduated from high school from Overbrook in '89. So I'm telling my age. And I have a son who was killed by gun violence at the age of 19.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us, D. Leon.
Good evening. Do I need to give a description of me, bro?
If you want to, yeah.
I'm Leon. I'm African American. I have dreadlocks as well. I don't have a beard. I have a Wakanda background behind me, and I'm in a purple shirt. I'm 20. Jesus. I'm 31 years old. I'm a husband. I'm a father of a 3-year-old toddler. I was a gunshot victim, 17. I met Chuck. I used to live in the same building as Chuck. And then I met Chuck in the support group. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Randy, y'all can leave your mics on in the panel. Everybody on the panel can leave their mics on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Randy Duque, and I am the Deputy Director of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. I'm Filipino American, short hair, wearing a black polo, sitting on a blue couch. I have a few pictures behind me. My one favorite picture is the one that's to my right, which is in Kuala Lumpur. It's the Twin Towers. They're really, it used to be the tallest Twin Towers in the, I think they still are the tallest Twin Towers in the world. But yeah, so I had an opportunity to visit there a couple times. You know, I'm looking forward to share my background in conflict resolution. Prior to working for the city, I was running juvenile diversion programs and conflict resolution trainings for juvenile offenders at the Good Shepherd Mediation Program.
Great. And Dr. Kupfer?
Hi, my name is Mendel Kupfer. I'm a physician. I work at McGee Rehab Hospital, and I specialize in rehabilitation medicine. I work with a lot of patients who are victims of various injuries, including victims of violence and gunshot trauma. I am white. I'm wearing a white lab coat, and I'm in an office setting. You can see a window and a door behind me.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So I just want to give some statistics. In the city of Philadelphia, as of last 6/28/21, there was 269 murders in the city. The That's a 36% increase from last year. There's been 1,200 victims this year in the city alone. There's 48% between the ages of 18 and 29. 9% has been under 18. More than 300 people are shot in the US every day. 1/3 dies, 2/3 lives, and they live with the outcome of gun violence. And that's why we're really having this today, to really talk about the people that live after gun violence and the trauma and the things that people live with short term and long term. And all Americans are impacted by violence, but African Americans are disproportionately impacted and experience 10 times the amount of homicides and 15 times the amount of gun assaults. So this is really affecting all of us, but this is affecting our brown community. But gun violence, bullets have no name and they don't stop, and when they aim at somebody, they'll hit anyone. So we really need to talk about some of the feelings that go along with it. And I just want to open this up with anybody. If you've had a personal experience or incident with gun violence prior to, like, you lost someone, what has been that experience in your life and how did you deal with it and how did you feel about it? That's for anybody.
So for me, Chuck, and everybody else on the panel, I mean, I have my days, my times, my moments. A lot of things that I really, per se, didn't look at or think that it affect until it hit so close to home. Like far as my son. So I did go through therapy. I went to counseling, and I think that helped. And then because of my strong support system for as my family, I think that actually helps. But you don't really get I can't, just to say one time it was just me of imagining to now that it's reality. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Leon. You want to say something? Okay, you can leave your mic.
No, I was just agreeing with her. No, I have a lot of background noise going on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So, and I know in some of the cases, I know with Dee and Leon, was the person captured that causing your family?
Yeah.
That shot you or shot your
Yeah.
son? Well, how was that like going through the process after it was court, like the court system and everything for you?
I'm sorry.
For me, the person that shot me, it was 4 people involved. I was 17 at the time, and I didn't want to go to trial. I didn't want to be subjected to having to sit through that and having to go to proceedings knowing that they were guilty and that they did this thing. So I just kind of signed the paperwork that my lawyer gave me. And I actually went into court one time to meet the guy who actually shot me. And seeing him wasn't, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't settle me at all. He didn't seem remorseful of it. His family did, but he didn't really seem remorseful.
Yeah, and I know, Dee, you shared some of that same experience that you had when you went to court as well.
So I actually went to court because, I mean, for me, it was a hurt piece, and like it just sent chills through my body right now. But I wanted to actually see the person who did it. It was a young guy, same age as my son at the time, which was 19, and same like you said, his family, had sympathy and remorse and everything, but the young man didn't. Do I feel like justice was served? No, I do not, because he got 22 to 45 years, which I feel like he can still come home and make a family, live the rest of his life, and I just feel like he took a life, he should have got life.
I feel the same way.
And how much time I'm sorry, go ahead, finish, Dee.
I don't feel like justice was served. It don't make me feel better the fact that, they got him, because like I said, he can get out and still make a family, live the rest of his life and everything. Meanwhile, my son is not here. And then at the end of the day, also when they we seen a video, I actually seen a video of my son when he got shot, and not that it would make it better, but the guy said he did it for no reason. And he said, you know, the judge asked, like, did he have anything he want to say to me as, you know, the mom or anything? Like, he couldn't even, not to say he couldn't, but he didn't even say sorry.
And I know what happened with the situation with you, Leon. How much time did the guy get or whatever?
The young man that shot me, he was actually younger than me. I was 17 at the time. He was 15. He got 15 to 40. And I wasn't even murdered. So I felt like that was crazy. That was, you know, he could come out of there and still have a little bit of a life. You know what I'm saying? Like if he get parole at 15 years, which is almost next year, basically, you know, he'll be 30. So he could come out and, you know, it's hard, but he could try to make something of himself. So I thought that was kind of crazy for attempted murder to have, you know, 15 to 40. I thought the justice system definitely failed me, especially that being not his first run-in with a dangerous crime.
Yeah. So when you was in the court, D, listening to like some of the things that talked about his life, do you feel like, where was he lost? You know, do you feel like people in his own life failed him or certain programs failed him?
So for me to speak far as that, because, hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry, because D is at work. She had to go in on an emergency. So Leon, did you, so you said did anybody in your family go to trial?
My mother came with me, and I think I had a couple more support. It was a while ago. I think I had a couple more support, but my mother definitely was here.
So did you think somebody failed? Did you hear like in this system, like he was failed throughout his life?
He was failed by the justice system. He was a troubled kid. You know, I felt like his parents did the best they could. You know, I think he grew up in a separate home. I think his father was raising him, and his mother was raising him separately. But from what I could hear from the parents talking to us at that day in the courtroom, they tried to do the best they can. He was supposed to actually been locked up 2 weeks prior to when he shot me. So like he wouldn't have been out on the streets, but a judge let him go. It was another, like, I think he was trying to rob. I can't remember what it was, but he did something. It was something serious. It was a serious offense, but the judge let him off. But I think I think it was him. I don't think he was let down by his family. I think the judicial system let him down.
Did you want to finish what you were saying?
So in my son's case, like I said, I really don't know actually what happened, because I more or less think it's just like the younger generation now, they just have no care. From certain stories that I have heard, I think it was like a jealousy thing. And then some of the mentality of the younger generation now, it's like, you know, they rapping and it's like, they're gonna, like they're rapping. So it's like a territorial thing. Don't pull that. I'm sorry. It's like a territorial thing. And I really don't think that, far as my son, I don't think that was something at home. Now, to speak on like other things going on, far as like with the gun violence with the young kids, I think some of those can be prevented at home, because a lot of parents nowadays they want to be their children's best friend. As I said in the interview that I sent to you, Chuck, far as on Channel 17, that a lot of stuff do start at home. Because when I was growing up, I didn't even know that there was a gun in my house. Nowadays, the younger generations, they can say, I'm going to go get my dad gun, Uncle Johnny gun, or they're 6 years old and they know where a gun is, or even know where a gun is in the house. And then, you know.
Yeah. So in those situations, I know that a lot of people, I know in the circle, people might have talked about retaliating or getting someone back. And I know that doesn't end. And I know those things that everybody has those feelings. I wanted Randy and Dr. Kupfer, with you being a conflict resolution expert and you've done it for so many years, can you just talk about how the retaliation really never stops. And I know, Dr. Cuffer, you see those cycles of people knowing each other back in McGee rehab, that it's almost like you see one person, then you see somebody else from the neighborhood, same neighborhood, and it's almost like a retaliation. But Randy, Randy, can you just talk about maybe some tools that individuals can do to kind of cope with not focusing or going toward that retaliatory mindset? And Dr.
Sure.
Comfort, can you just talk about like some of the things you've seen as well?
Sure. So the thing is, like when we work with juvenile offenders, and young people who are growing up in situations where it's like where they're just prone to violence in the community. We would teach them pro-social skills, like actually conflict resolution skills that anyone should, learn. Things like basically stopping and thinking before reacting. So in other words, like if our gut reaction is to throw a punch, yell back, you're like, let me stop myself for a second before and think of the consequences of our actions. Prior to that is also understanding what our anger triggers are. Like if I know talking to this person might set me off, maybe I should either like learn how to control myself more or just avoid that situation because it might turn bad. Also things like self-anger management skills. And it's different for everyone. Some people are more creative and like, putting into poetry, into writing, into art. Others, it might just be something more visceral, like screaming into a pillow or something like that. But like learning what really works to sort of decompress a person. Like the thing is, it's like, it makes, like when we're working with young people, it makes sense. And, as it really, first of all, meet them where they're at, you understand like where they're living, what neighborhood. Like my first job was working as a wraparound worker in North Philly. And, some of the young people, I like, as long as I was with them, they were good. And trying to impart these sort of pro-social skills in terms of, just trying to maintain themselves, understanding that they can only control themselves. They can't control what other people do, what they say, but they can control how they act and what they do. And so like a lot of it is like, just having them constantly remind them, thinking of like, understand, we know like you don't live in a bubble, but, finding those ways that you can sort of, turn yourself in a better direction to, avoid something worse from occurring, whether it be, like I said, screaming into a pillow when you get home, or, maybe a person is better at talking it out, and so that they, maybe practicing those skills to sort of negotiate it. But it's really different for young people. The thing that we always want to try to, remind them is that, like I said, they can only control what they do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doc.
I've had patients who've been shot more than once. They come in to rehab a second time for a second gunshot. I've had patients who come in for a gunshot wound, or I'm going to do an x-ray for one reason or another, and we find bullets from a previous episode. I have some patients who wear with a badge of pride that they're tough or macho for having been shot. By and large, people after they get shot have very tough, difficult lives, and I think that all the machismo that's placed on being tough is really misplaced, is really misguided.
I understand it. And I want to share some videos that was filmed with some of the panel members. And one of our panel members, he's Busy B, Stephen Smith. He's had some difficulties today, but I'm going to share his video so everybody can see the aftermath of how gun violence is affecting individuals. So just bear with me 1 second while I bring those videos up.
This is a share, and you don't need any of these to make money.
I was naive to the situation, didn't know the severity of a spinal cord injury, didn't know how much it would affect me. I thought it was like a scrape. Oh, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna be all right. Didn't think too much of it. And then I realized that, oh damn, this is, you know, real. This is real. My name is Stephen Brian Smith, but most people call me B. My middle name is Brian. Just a nickname I was given when I was growing up as, B, just abbreviation. I grew up pretty much poor, didn't have a lot of things. My mom tried her best to give me the best life she could. But at that time, I didn't think it was good enough because I hung around so many different other people that had other things going on. Expensive sneakers, expensive clothing. And for me, I wanted more. I was very smart, very intelligent, but I got hooked into the streets. The drug dealing, the gun violence, carrying guns, hanging around different people, getting involved with a lot of stupid crap. I was sitting in a room with all of my good friends at that time, playing the PlayStation, and it was my gun. My best friend, Dante, took the clip out, but the difference was I always kept a bullet in the chamber. And he was just playing with it and pulled the trigger, and it hit me in the side of the neck. And I went through and through. It's kind of like one of those things where you're laying down on the floor, paralyzed, but you think it's a dream, and you're like, oh, come on, wake up. But then you realize it's not a dream. I dealt with depression. I didn't want to do no OT, no PT. I was just pissed at the world. And I was in my room every day. Didn't want to come out. A lady named Miss Terry Costa, she came to my door one day and was like, you're coming out the room today. And I was like, nah, I don't feel like it. And she was like, no, you're coming out the room immediately. And I was like, no. And she stood by my door and wouldn't leave me the hell alone. I started to snap, curse her out in every way. She didn't budge. And finally I was like, you know what? Let me humor this lady. And I went out and I sat outside in the rose garden and I had an epiphany. And it was either you're gonna live or die. You wanna let people help you? Do you wanna be dirty? Do you wanna smell bad? I know things are different, but do you wanna be sort of your normal self? And I had an epiphany and I just thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna try. Now, the biggest thing I get from kids when I'm speaking is, what happened to your friend? I'm still friends with him. I forgave him. I love him. He's a brother to me. And things happen when you're younger. I forgave him because I needed closure and he needed closure. I gotta wake up every day being paralyzed. Every day. My life is as tough as they come. And I don't want to hear people coming around me complaining about some of the small stuff that they got going on, especially with the stuff I got going on. There's a lot of people around me who can say they understand what you're going through, but they don't really understand what you're going through at all. So that's what the group did for me, was it helped me open up to others and people that had been through things similar to me. I have 14 nieces, 7 nephews. I want them to be great. I don't want them to grow up in the life that I had. I want them to be okay. The biggest question is, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be looked at? Uncle Brian never gave up. He continued to fight that good fight. Because not every day I want to wake up and I want to get up out of bed and I feel okay to be in the store. I want to, oh man, oh God, this day can be tough. But I think about people that have it worse than me. I'm fine. I tell people, don't let the wheelchair and the ventilator fool you. I'm fine. Get up every day. Do what you need to do. Make something happen. It could be something small that you don't want. Something small, but as long as you got it done. I want my legacy to be that I was a fighter.
He's not here, but I just want to thank him for like sharing the story, because I really just think it's poignant and everybody need to hear the different aspects. Now, B touched on something when he said that sometimes people say things and sometimes you don't get to, things that they say kind of don't help and it kind of puts you in a bad space. And what do you think is the best thing? This is for everybody on the panel. Like, because I know Dr. Cuthbert, it's hard for you when you have to kind of talk to the parents or talk to the families about what's going on in their life and what their expectancy is. And like Dee and Leon, you know, sometimes, and I know myself even, sometimes people say things. What do you think is the best thing that you can say to someone, or is it anything that you can say in those moments when you're feeling like lost or just numb walking around the world?
I think there's a temptation to be overly positive or to make promises. And I think it's important to not so much focus on what you should say, but just being there and listening. I'm very careful not to tell people that I know what they're going through, or that's, you know, or that it's going to be okay. You want to keep the hope alive, not to be a cliche, but you want to keep that optimism going, but you don't want to present false hope, and you don't want to make promises that you can't keep.
Yeah, and I know Dee, one time you talked about sometimes when people just say things to you and you just don't want to hear it, and they just try to say something. How do you feel about those moments, and what do you think they could just?
So before I went to, and I'm sorry if I'm not looking, I'm still working at the same time. So before I went to counseling and therapy, I think that helped me deal with some of the things, but I used to get really angry and everything. Now it's just, I think more or less now I have gotten to the point, I just give a blank stare. Cause it's like, I already, what they say, some things I just already got it set up that they just want something to say, but don't know what to say. So it's just like, I've learned to take it as that. Like, you know, when somebody says something, I just, you know, because I already know that for somebody to even say they can imagine what I'm going through, it's not the same as you can imagine by versus actually going through it. So it's just like some people, it's like they want to say something but don't know what to say. And in my head, it's just like, don't say nothing at all. You know? So I don't know. It's just like I just get it. I think more so to the point now, it's just that I've become numb to it.
Yeah. But do you feel like you kind of walk around life numb more, or you have
Sometimes because numb, and then just like even to the fact of ever since my son, like I don't watch the news because it's depressing. And then it's just like sometimes I get angry because it's like to say like, what did my son do that deserved, you know, not to be here? Or you know, I hear a 19-year-old got shot and they're still here. And it's like, why is my son not still here?
Yeah.
So I think my two key words that I go by is adapt and cope. You know, because even to speak as far as like retaliation, you know, when it first happened, that's all everybody wanted was retaliation. But it was like, it's not going to bring him back. And to honestly say, if it was going to bring him back, then hey, let's go for it. That's how I felt. But it's not going to bring him back. So my two key words that I live by is I adapt and I cope.
And I mean, people have to really understand those are human emotions, and you can't. I mean, it's human for people to feel those things, to feel that way that you feel, D. You know, and I mean, as a person who was shot, I feel the same way. Randy, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, you know, like when I would train people who would be working with victims, what I talk, basically echoing, you know, what you heard is really to be there, be present, and listen to the person. If a person feels compelled, and I'm talking not just working with, I'm talking like family members, friends, you know, because especially the closer we are to a person, the more we feel like we need to do something and say something. And so it's a reminder, like we try to remind people that, like, you know, just be present, you know, and ask, like, do you want to talk about it? But more important is to listen, because, you know, there's nothing really you can say at the moment except to really show that you are concerned, to show that you're there for that other person, you know.
And so, you know, like a lot of times, and see what B shared is he was shot by his friend. And that shows that if you're gonna have a gun, I mean, you have to know, you have to be responsible. You know, when you have guns in your home, you have guns around children, you have guns around, you have to be a responsible gun owner, because it's just to think about it, B is left with a lot, and so is his friend. You know, and sometimes it's hard to even be in the same space as your friend, knowing that this is a result of your own actions. And those actually can be your child. I mean, it's hard to live without your child after that, but I mean, that's why you're doing, because if you have a weapon in your home, so you need to really practice safe gun management when you have a gun in your house, because one bullet can damage everything in your life. So do everybody would say, what's next? What should we do, or how can we stop this gun violence, or what are ideas? I mean, we live it, and that's a question that is so hard to answer. And I see your face, Randy. It's just like, where do we start? Like, what emotions do you feel when you hear that?
It's I feel like, you know, it's kind of like the golden rule. So many different religions have basically the same thing. Basically, treat others as the way you want to be treated. but for some reason it falls on deaf ears in society for various reasons, you know, whether it be, you know, again, like, you know, talking about like this sort of badge of honor when it comes to gun violence and getting shot, to like just that sort of reciprocal nature of retribution when it does happen. It's easier said than done, but like really it takes a conscious effort both of individuals to say, I had enough, but also the people around them, the you know, from the family to the neighborhood, et cetera, to say, we got to stop this. We can't change that kind of culture without people making that conscious effort collectively together, you know. And like, you know, you mentioned things like about like people who are gun owners being responsible about that. Like I was an Army veteran, like 10 years in the infantry, like, and like I pretty much trained and I don't believe that, you know, I think it takes a lot to actually have weapons. I don't like firearms, you know, I think you need a lot of training and stuff. Like if you feel the need for it, yeah, you need to be very, very responsible for it. But other than that, like, I really think like we need to really sort of come together and find other alternatives to you know, move beyond whatever beef we have. You know, like I think reflecting on B's video, you know, he says, you know, he doesn't want to hear these little things that people are complaining about when he's sitting in a chair paralyzed and like he's got to do this every day. It's like taking that reflective thought of like, you know, maybe things aren't as bad as they need to be. Why do I need to shoot someone? Why do I need to retaliate? Like that, again, that sort of change in mentality, the change of thinking is a very cognitive and active process that collectively would need to be done in order to start moving things another way.
Yeah. And Dr. Kupfer, I know that we've had a lot of conversations about like violence as a whole, not just gun violence. And I know that that's really what you see. I mean, in your work, you see so many different violent acts that come through the hospital. And it might be gun violence one time, it might be other types of violence. So, I mean, in your work, what do you think it could be, like some messaging or just some actions to combat this violence?
I wish I had all the answers.
I know that's hard.
I think the question is, why do people resort to violence to work things out? I'm hesitant to specify just gun violence. That might be a very effective tool, but I see patients beat up with everything, or anything from cars to baseball bats, to stabbings. The question is, why does somebody wake up in the morning and think that that's how they should respond to whatever stressor they have in their life? I think part of it is culturally that we should frown upon violence. It shouldn't be looked upon as a cool thing. Being the guy with the gun or being the guy who's tough is, you know, shouldn't be something that's cool or tolerated societally. I think it's a very complicated question. Some ways I see when that question isn't answered, I see the results of it. I think it's a community question. It's a cultural question. It's an entertainment industry. It's a school and education. I don't know that there's no one place that could make everything. There's not one person or one organization can make everything better. I think having conversations like we're having now is a good catalyst for that conversation and for everybody to problem solve, whether it's conflict resolution training and bringing that into schools, whether it's teaching kids that getting shot is not a cool thing, and shooting is and being tough and hurting people is certainly not a cool thing, and maybe it's going back to basics with the golden rule, like you said. Like it's like sometimes maybe we just need to focus on real basics.
Yeah. So I mean, and I know this is kind of like for everybody in the gun violence and the violence as a whole. What have you seen in the infrastructure, like of families, like even in your own family, the change that has happened after gun violence? because I know it really changes the way people treat you, the way people speak to you, and that's the people that known you your entire life, and they kind of and even your close friends, they just don't know how to be in your space anymore. Like, how do you deal with that, and what have you seen in the changes that has happened in your own inner circle? Go
For
ahead.
me, I beat people to a punch. I made a joke about it. So I would lighten the mood. I lighten the mood like day 3 in the hospital. Like day 3, I'm 17 years old, paralyzed, but I'm cracking jokes, making sure that other people are laughing about it so that they're easy about it. Because I know a lot of people they didn't know what to do. Like they couldn't handle me being paralyzed. But I knew I already, you know what I'm saying? I already knew what I was getting myself into, what I had myself into. So I didn't really experience a lot of the things where people say, you know, they lost friends. I did a little bit, but again, I made people a little more comfortable because I was, you know, jovial about it and kind of joked about it. Like, you know, it's a sucky situation, but let's, you know, we got to make the best of it.
I try to use humor to diffuse tension as well. Just have to be very careful that the person wants that, because it could, because in the right setting it's great, but in the wrong setting, people get angry.
Yeah.
I didn't like a lot of Dr. Cuffer's jokes. He was my doctor for a little bit. I was mad.
I tried.
And it's funny that Dr. Comfort is my doctor as well. So I have over 30 years of experience of living in the chair. So I'm not even going to tell you my age, so we're going to keep it moving. Go ahead, D. You talking? You're on mute, D.
Sorry, I said you already told us your age.
I know, right? Yeah. Her.
So
D, go ahead, D.
Just to say the same thing, like I'm more so, I've gotten to the point, like I'll let people know, like I'm having a day, a time, a moment. And I've now understand, like, far as even in grieving, like everybody grieves different. I like to see like pictures, or like I have in my phone, like over 9,000 pictures, and probably 7,000 is my trail videos and everything. But alongside with my family, like I said, I feel as though I have a great support system as far as my family and everything. So it was a time where it was like one of my sisters, she wouldn't let me cry. And I just feel like you need that cry sometimes. And even as in joking, like, you know, I think of like, just to say like, oh, if Montreal was here, he would be doing this, or, you know, something like, just think of the good times, or sometimes making a joke about it, or just at certain times of the year, like his death date and his birthday. Like, I just like, I gotta get my good cry out. So it's more so just allowing at that time or moment how you feel, allowing you to be you. I think that helps.
Yeah.
Don't get out the bed, please.
And I'm gonna share Leon's video from that was recorded, and just give you a little bit more, get to know Leon. I'm sorry.
OC87 Recovery Diaries. Stories of mental health, empowerment, and change. Essays, films, and gatherings that create a community of hope.
Wheelchair. I'm saved. I'm going to be rich. take life as it comes, and I'm proud to be Black. Hey, I'm Leon Harris. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm funny as hell, I'm in a wheelchair, I'm saved, I'm going to be rich. I take life as it comes, and I'm proud to be Black. So I've been in a wheelchair now 14 years. I was a victim of a gunshot wound from an attempted robbery when I was just 17 years old. It's one of the first questions people always ask me, what happened to you? A lot of people like to assume that I was doing something I had no business doing. And it kind of bothers me and offends me. I was a kid, I was a teenager, and I was really a church boy. I was at the church a lot of the time. You know, I was just literally coming home from work. It was like 9:15 at night. I got off the bus like any other night. I was walking onto my block and a car stopped in the middle of the road, basically, and two guys hopped out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, well, here we go. The one young man, he approaches me in front of me. He asked me, you know, give me what you got in your pockets. And I replied, I don't have anything. He started to move closer, but I saw that I had a little angle, what I thought, an angle to kind of run past them because my house is less than 100 feet away. And I don't remember really running. I didn't hear the gunshot. I didn't feel anything. The next thing that I remember is I'm laying on the ground, trying to crawl, trying to get up, trying to scream for my mother. Yeah, that was, yeah. She eventually came out about 10, 15 minutes later. She knew something was wrong. She was running out and she was yelling, "Is that Leon? Is that my son?" And that the voice and the way she said it, it just, I'll never forget that tone of voice. I'll never forget that sound that she made coming out the house. And then sometime after that, the police actually did show up, but they were hostile toward me. They, for some reason, didn't believe me and thought I was involved in something. While I was trying to tell them the name and the make and look of the car, I'm giving them the description, and it just didn't feel easy. It felt like I was the criminal, not a victim. When I was told later on that one of the cops even asked my mother, what did he have on him? Just give it up, just say so. My mother was letting them know, like, no, he's a good kid. He's a church boy. Like, he's not into anything. He just went to work and came home. And I don't know why it was surprising to them. It's a shame to be a young Black man and the first thing people assume, you're a criminal. You're doing something. My mother's name is Dorian Hauser. It was tough. She was a single mom. She was a single mom. She had to figure everything out from scratch. Me coming back home was hard because it was inaccessible. I lived in a house with steps. So it was a legal situation now because I got shot. So I had detectives coming in. I don't know how she did it. I don't even think about how hard it must have been on her. I didn't think about my future for a long time, to be honest with you. Future, I didn't know what kind of future I was going to have. I think literally like now is when I'm starting to think about my future. It took a long time for me to start thinking about it because it was just hard. You're in a chair, it's just like unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen. How I met my wife kind of just happenstance. It just happened. We went to the same church. And then like a couple years later, her computer messed up and she messaged me on Facebook to fix her computer because that was something that I was into and I did for people. And from there, we developed a friendship. And I could see just in the friendship, the kind of person she was. She was smart, she was beautiful. And I was like, oh, I would like to see if there's more to this. It just blossomed and grew. I think we dated for maybe 9 months, got engaged and then got married 9 months later. It was kind of quick. But I knew it was right. It wasn't one of those things. I never had a doubt about her. And to this day, she's never let me down. The way my spinal cord injury is set up, I'm not able to have kids by myself. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of doctor visits. And then finally we did IVF, and thanks be to God, we got it on the first try. It was tough. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad for my little Noelle. I love her. She's me. I was like, okay, I have a daughter, so let's just flip my name backwards.
Hello, hopefuls. Welcome back to Harris Hope and Humor, where we share our lives as an interabled couple.
Yes.
So today is our 6-year wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So we're going to discuss with you guys what we learned in year 6 of our marriage.
So we came up with Harris Hope and Humor. And the reason we came up with it was to bring awareness to interabled couples, where one person is disabled and the other person is able-bodied. A lot of people don't even know how it works. A lot of people always ask, like, how is life and how are things and how do you do this and that and the third? So we was like, well, to bring awareness, let's just put our life on YouTube. So we show, some of our day-to-day. We show like some days when I'm with my daughter by myself. Being a wheel dad is hard. It's not easy. I get frustrated. Now I have spasms in my legs. My daughter may want me to do something or want me to help her with something. I'm like, hold on, give me a second. Toddlers have no patience. You see it? They want what they want now. So it's like, I would normally jump up and do whatever she want, but it's like, I gotta, hold on, give daddy a little time. I gotta go slower. My wife, she encouraged me to do therapy. I had a bad experience with therapy before I met my wife, and I kind of swore it off. But the therapist I have now, she really does help me. I kind of just casually talk with her, and a lot of things just come up. I never felt my feelings. I kind of brush my feelings off, or I kind of suppress them. So now I'm starting to learn how to feel all of the 7 emotions. And I'm working on it daily and every week and daily to be a better person for myself, for my wife, and for my child. But I definitely recommend therapy, and I definitely recommend therapy for African Americans, because I know a lot of them are scared about it. They don't want nobody knowing your business. But there are African American therapists out there who don't care about your business and just want to help you. Talk. That's the big thing. Talk. Express your feelings, express your emotions, ask questions. We have a whole community. We're here to help you. We can help you avoid some of the things that we have to go through so that you can make sure your life is as easy as hard as possible. Because it's going to be hard. I'm not going to say your life is going to be easy. No, it's going to be hard. Every day getting out the bed into this chair is hard. But you got to do it. But what else you want to do? You got to do it. You got to keep getting up.
Thanks, Leon. And I know it's kind of hard really to share those things. And I know, Noelle, she's our little soldier. She stays with our group a lot, and she's always in and she's always chiming. So, I know that, Leon, after the situation, I know it was like, we talked in the past about how you were treated by some of the people and how you were treated by the police department, being a young Black male. And Randy, I know that you hear that a lot of stories about that with the Human Relations Commission. How do you feel that just African American males in the society today that really seem like it's being targeted by gun violence, how do you think that they can better deal with the psychological part of that?
Well, I mean, I think Leon put it best in terms of can actually consider therapy. Consider, even if not therapy, if it's if you haven't, a lot of, it's the unfortunate thing is, majority of African American youth are experiencing ongoing trauma, whether or not they've been the victim of gun violence or violence, but just you know, a lot of the more violent neighborhoods happen to, you know, are in like more African American communities and other people of color. With that said, like, you know, whether it be therapy or finding you know, those people that you can sort of talk to. What you know, Leon also had the benefit of being as you said, like, you know, being a church goer and such, and like, you know, having that kind of support, whether it be spiritual. And like, it's funny because, you know, I remember like when I served in the military, one of the things that surprised me was the focus they had on people having a spiritual side, not necessarily, you know, believing God or whatever, but having this idea of spirituality to help them with their mental and emotional processes. You know, it's that whole idea of being able to cope and adapt, like Dee said, you know. And so finding these sort of tools that, you know, we can't grab onto, but like understanding that, you know, we need this interdependence of other people, whether they be trusted faith leaders, trusted uncles and aunts, grandparents, or, you know, straight out, like, you know, seeking therapy. These are ways that can help us at least try to cope, you know, and try and break through those stigmas, you know. With a lot of the new era immigrant communities, we work with them as well in terms of like, and they just basically find their ways of decompressing through, you know, talking, like the guys will talk to guys and stuff like that. But like just finding ways to trying to sort of get your emotions out in a more productive way rather than channeling it through these negative ways of, you know, like violence.
Do you have anything you want to add, Dr. Coe?
Awesome video, Leon. I think it's easy to blame victims. It's easy, whether it's gun violence or even diving accidents or sports injuries. It's always easy to blame people. Why? And we have to be aware of that bias. We have to be aware of that. And what I see in patients is that they blame themselves. And I think there has to be forgiveness not only for others, but forgiveness for people themselves. I'm not saying about this situation with Mr. Harris, but in general, people are angry at themselves why they did X, Y, and Z. If it's, you know, jumping the wrong way, you know, in sports or doing something, and it's hard to understand why these things happen to people. I think having that religious affiliation of any religion, I think, helps ground people, and certainly having a community to turn to, whether it's more formal in terms of therapy or more informal, like in a support group or clergy. I think having people as sounding boards, not necessarily to tell you something, but to listen to you say something is important.
Yeah. So Randy, I want to, I don't know if Dee and Leon want to add anything. Hey, Noel. There she go. So, Randy.
Yes.
In a situation where it's in the height of the moment, and you know, somebody you might see a confrontation and you're a friend or you right there, and you know you might have some power to de-escalate the situation. What do you think is the best way to kind of conquer that in that moment? Because sometimes, you know, friends have power, you know, and I think one thing that people don't really understand, especially with men and people your loved ones have a lot of power when you're about to go do something. You know, I know in the past of sharing and going to talk to young men at different schools and things like that, we always used to say, especially to the young ladies, like, you have a lot of power in the males in your life. To tell them that you don't support what they're doing and it can alter. But do you have any kind of ideas on how to de-escalate a situation, a tool someone can use to kind of calm it down?
I mean, you kind of have to read the situation, but in general, it's like when you talk about like being around other people, like friends with you, like it's good to have that, you know, faithful friends and ride and die kind of mentality. But at the same time, like it's better to be able to sort of de-escalate the tension, like you're talking about. So what I see works a lot, and you know, I've done it, and I've seen other people just do this, like when things were starting to escalate, was like Leon mentioned, like the usage of humor. and just sort of changing that topic or making light of it. I remember one guy actually told me, this was all in jest, but he made this sort of posit. He's like, try to argue someone with your hands up in the air. Like, you feel ridiculous and it's hard to argue. His whole point was saying that, like, to sort of change the dynamic of tension, whether it be through humor, or I've seen other people just sort of change the topic, like, let's, oh, hey, let's talk about this instead. Like, and like, it's sort of like a group effort to sort of de-escalate those tensions. And if you're responding more as like sort of an outgo, like you're seeing it, it's a little bit different. Like, a lot of times in those situations, you have to sort of interrupt in another way, like it's more like another physical distraction, or not physical, I mean, just more of like a loud distraction, whether it be like maybe just making a fool out of yourself, making a joke, cracking things up, but just something that breaks the tension. And I'm not talking about like, someone's got a gun out. So I'm just talking about things are getting heated, like, in voices and stuff like that. Like hearing the Leon's story, it reminds me, because like when you talked about how it was set up, I was actually held at gunpoint in very much the same way. I got off the bus, was walking down the street, and the guy got out of the car. It was the same setup, and like it sort of made me think about like what could have happened, like if I got shot as well. Like a different scenario turned out, and but I won't go into that. But yeah, I mean, it makes me think like I guess the way I said, like, what broke that thing was like I took their gun, but that's a whole nother story. But that definitely changed everything in the sense of like, they've ended up recovering at some point, but ran away, but like, I think the key point of what I'm saying is like when things are getting to that head, like you want to sort of make sure it doesn't get there by inserting something that breaks that whole cycle. And I think humor is one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah. So
can you teach me how to do that hand trick next time?
Well, my logic. No, all right. Well, yeah, I'll teach Steve.
See, that's the comedy. That's Leon. That's our comedy right there. The comedian in our group. He can always give you a laugh right at that moment. So, this is a hard thing, and I just want, if you could have a conversation with that person that changed your life from gun violence prior to it, what would you, I mean, and especially when you was in the court and you heard some of the things that was said, do you think it could have been, you could share some words with them, or even today, what would you really just want to say to them? That's really for Dan Leon.
I think I'm good, bro. I don't, and I think it's more so because he was so young. I don't know if he grasps what he did. So I don't feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had right now. For me, I don't know if I want to have a conversation.
Do you think he just
I don't know.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll let you know.
No, do you think he's just so immature in his mind that no matter what you can say from him, he could just understand what he did to your life? Even though
I do think he could now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think now he could, but I think like it wouldn't give me any type of closure or any type of, like, my closure for me was he was young and dumb. You know what I'm saying? That's my closure. It wasn't like it was a grown man that shot me. It was a 15-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's my closure. There's nothing else that needs to be done for me, I think, between him. I don't think I would ever need or want a conversation with him. Again, maybe I need more therapy, Randy. You can let me know. But right now, I don't. That's a closed book for me. I don't even mention his name.
Do you want to share something?
So for me, I just want to know why. Like, I actually had a dream that I went up to the prison that he was in and called him out. And I fought to get back in that dream because I wanted to know what was the end results. But I I think my whole thing is, and I don't think we'll make closure because it's not gonna bring my son back. I still have like a lot of anger and everything, but I just want to know the answer to that one question, like why did you do it? You know, was it to show toughness? Was it the get in, or what? Like, that's just my whole thing of why. But I don't think only closure would have for me is if my son was even a per se, like I would even accept the fact of my son getting shot and still being here, you know?
Yeah. Would you ever want to actually do that, to go visit him and have a conversation with him? If you could get that question answered.
Yeah, but it would have to be for me. And I don't even know how to say it. It would have to be on a good day. But when would that be? You know? Because even like right now, like I don't have a problem sharing my story and talking about it and everything. But just even in general, right now, I got chills just going through my body.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Pennsylvania Office of Victim Advocate, I don't know about with all COVID and stuff like that, but they actually offer this victim offender mediation, which essentially is when a person feels that it's all voluntary. So like we're in Leon's case, he's like, I'm moving on, I'm done. There are victims who feel they need those questions like you're talking about, the why. And what the victim offender mediation is a restorative justice process that, ultimately the goal is to, bring offender victim together to have that dialogue in, very in a facilitated, safe space. It's a long process because, you're dealing with a lot of issues. So, the facilitators would meet with you and talk with you, give you more information. They would try to meet with the offender and, try to see if they can bring people together. But I mean, that could be an opportunity for you to explore if that's what you're looking
now. Me and his mom actually we met up twice. We met up twice. I don't have anything against her or anything, but it was something they had down City Hall a couple of years ago where that we would come together and go on a panel and everything. But I like I told her, I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't, ready.
Yeah, and again, like something like a victim offender mediation, it's on your terms. So whenever you feel ready, then you can explore that option with with the Office of Victim Advocates. So letting you know it's out there.
And D, how was that conversation with his mother?
So the first conversation, and they both happened out of just per se, like the first one was I was at work and she was actually working the same job in a different department, but she was like agency. So it really kind of caught me off guard because that particular day I had on a sweatshirt with all of my trail faces, like from baby to up until when he passed. And I really didn't know who she was. So when she came up, she just was like looking at me and I'm looking at her like, and at the time I was garbed up. So she greeted me. So, I greeted her back and I just, but she stood there and kept looking at me. So then she was like, you don't know who I am. And then she said, she's like, or the guy name is Omar. And she was like, I'm Omar's mom. And it was just like, at that moment, I felt like an angel on my shoulder and a devil on the shoulder. Because the angel was saying, don't do it. She's not, who did it. But the devil was like, grab her by her throat and take her life. So it was like, but then it was more so of she's like, I'm sorry. And it was more so of one of the moments where it was like, she didn't know what, she wanted to say something to me, but didn't know what to say. So the second time we actually was at a funeral and she like looked at me and I looked at her and I still like, just didn't, realize who she was. So when she was like, can I give you a hug? And I'm like, huh? And then that's when she told me again who she was. And I was like, and I gave her a hug and everything. But it was like the first time was like really weird because I really wanted to just grab her by her throat and not let go. Now the second time it was like a little awkward. It put me in a whole nother space. But I I didn't want to do nothing to her, but I don't want to be, you know, that's not going to be a friend of mine no time soon.
So when she apologized, what did it really give you a feeling of?
So I took her apology because from when it first happened, I never took it as, because, you know, she didn't, it's not like she told her son to go out there and do that, or, you know. And then the crazy part about it is my uncle and her mother used to hang out together. Like, we grew up in like the same neighborhood, and then like 2 years before what happened to my son, the exact same thing happened to her brother. So I think more or less with me, I don't have no anger or anything towards her, but I don't want to be all chummy and everything either. Like, you know. So it was more so it's just like I said, more so of the fact of, it was just like that good angel and that bad angel.
Yeah. So let me ask, Leon D, anybody, and I know, what do you think is some of the, like, the demons that you live with that kind of, like, what triggers them to come out sometimes when you just having those hard times, or you just that anger? What is the trigger for you?
So now for me, like I said, sometimes like my Montreal birthday, just like holidays, knowing like how my family is, and my son's personality, just missing his goofy laugh there, or messing with the kids. Sometimes it can just be like me working in a hospital, and I just see like a patient, you know, been shot, or just like, you know, like, it's a lot of little things from time, and sometimes it hits harder than others. Like sometimes, just to per se, you know, a day will come up and it could be like good weather or something, which I know Montreal love. And today the good weather I'll be okay, and tomorrow it might be a whole, you know, different thing. So it just be different things. I mean, it do be different things, but sometimes I'll just be mad at the world, and I'll just shut myself out from the world. Like, and
Had you ever, I want you to answer too, Leon, but I'll ask you one more question. Had you ever like talked to somebody, or like therapy or anything like that?
I did. And to tell you the truth, Chuck, I really think it's time for me to go back, because now when it first happened, this was in 2014, when it first happened, far as seeing a psych, going to therapy, going to counseling, I was all against it, because I was like, oh, they're gonna make me lay on the couch and make me think I'm crazy and all this other stuff, put me on medication and stuff, not knowing that it was gonna help. So when I finally did go and everything, it did help a lot. Like, just even with like my anger, far as, you know, me grieving, it helped a lot. But now, since that time, so that happened in 2014. I think that must have, when I first went to counseling and seeing a psychiatrist and talking to, I went to therapy once a week. That was like a year after. So that was like in 2015, and I haven't been back since, because I feel like I handle it and everything. But just as over, say this per se, the middle of last year into now, I just said I feel like I need to go back.
Yeah, therapy is healing, and sometimes you really need it, because if you don't, you live in that moment, and you can't live out of it. You can't. It's like grieving is on everybody's own time frame,
right?
But it's just like, if you don't get help, you're killing yourself inside, and those people around you really can't get them to feel you again. You know. So it's really important to try therapy again. Leon, you want to say something about that with those demons? I know Noel is over there being,
man, you know, toddlers, man, they just gotta pop in somewhere. For me, I feel like my demon really is March. March is my birthday month, and March is 12 days after my birthday is when I got shot. So for a long time, I didn't care about March. And then a lot of my big health issues always happened in March. So, and like right around my birthday. So it was like, all right, a birthday, I'm in a hospital or I'm in bed rest. So it's just like all BS. Like I don't care about it. So my wife likes to make a special effort to make March, better for me. But that I think that's one of my biggest quote unquote demons. Like I'd rather go from February to April because I feel like March has just had this dark cloud on it for me. March has always just been not cursed, but it's a horrible month. I hate March. I used to love March because it was like right when spring was coming. So the seasons was changing. It would go from cold to warm, and it would just be these random warm moments. But lately, it's been trash. That's just for me. Yeah, March is not my favorite.
Yeah, and I know mine is November. I hate November because that's when I was injured, and it's funny. The funniest thing is that the day that I was injured, I was hanging out with Dee earlier that day.
Wait a minute, because not like that, but I said I was supposed to be meeting up with you. I was like, I was supposed to be meeting up because I was on my way to meet you. And we was hanging out early that day.
Y'all, because she worked in the store, and I remember we bought the same shirt, so we was like, we're gonna wear them to school on Monday. We had it all planned out. And so it was just so weird. And like, I'm gonna share a little bit. I'm gonna show my video, a little bit of my story. Then I'll talk because I haven't really said much about myself. So just give me a second to share my video.
Just imagine in one moment, your body can do everything you want it to do. And in an instant, you can't do anything. The only reason I feel uncomfortable sometimes talking about it, and I do talk about it, but I only, like if I have to go to a speaking engagement to talk about gunshot survivors and to try to change and get people to understand what it is. And the only reason that I don't really like to talk about it all the time is because it leaves me with nightmares. That's my PTSD. And I remember what it feels like to lay on the ground and feel your blood coming out of your body. Dying, drifting. That's a lot. When I talk about it, it's just like I'm in that moment and you feel your life leaving you. And you feel yourself just like at 17. And you're like, I have so much to live for. Am I dying? I think I'm dying. I don't want to die. And then you talk about these young ones in the street, and they talk about they if I get shot, I die. But what if you don't? And this is your life. Yo, what if y'all get shot and you wind up in the chair? And it's like, well, we'd be just like you. I'm like, have you lost your mind? Do you know, I'll make it look easy. A lot of us in our group make it look easy. But how do we get from there to here? It ain't easy. I don't want you to know this life. Because it's like 3 phases of this that I feel. It's the acknowledgement of a disability, where it's just kind of, you acknowledge yourself. You in the new you of a disability. You kind of like, okay, hi you, hi me, and then it's just like, all right, I gotta get to know you because we living in the same house together, my body. And then it's the acceptance. You know, you have to accept that new you with the old you, and you have to blend that and make it into this person that you might not really want to accept yet, and this person that you were, that you've already accepted, and you have to make them live together. And then there is the living, you know, the living in that. And sometimes some people don't get to that final phase of it because it's so difficult. It takes a long time to start living again, and it's hard. I can just tell you, when I was first injured, they tell you they want you to go see a psychiatrist, and they want you to go talk to somebody when you're in the hospital. So I go and talk. I'm 17 years old, okay, black kid, West Philly. All right. So I go and talk to this guy in the room. He's like 45, 50, white, balding, walking. What? I don't see too much of what you can really touch into my life. Yeah, you might have years and years of experience of working with people with disabilities and spinal cord injuries and all those things, but I don't feel like you have a connection that I can really benefit from. And then on top of it, I suffered from depression, you know, periodically around my injury, and I hid it because I felt guilty for being depressed, because I had a good job, had a house, had a car, have all of those things, you know. I was just lost sometimes. I couldn't find my way out. It took a lot to find my way out. So I suffered in silence because of my guilt. And I didn't have to do it anymore with this group. I don't have to suffer. I don't have to feel like I have to act like I'm a champion all the time and nothing bothers me and nothing. This group gave me the ability to just be like, be Chuck, you know? I love this group because it's just, a family. Like, yo, look, you might not like your family that you birthed to, but this is a family that we just gravitated to, and it's just like, there's a bunch of crazies in it, but we all mesh so well. Sometimes when you're trying to find yourself in this world, you kind of fight those people who have the answers because you're really not ready to accept yet what this life is. This group has really given me a place where I can be me, and I'm protected, and I have brothers and sisters that I can call somebody at any time and just be like, I'm going through something. And after 30 years, I still go through it. And then now you might get somebody who has 2 years in that says, drop some jewels on you of wisdom and just something, and it just clicks for you and make you feel better. So our family has really touched me and has made me a better person, and I need them. I love me. I love my community. My community loves. We all love ourselves. There's nothing wrong with having a disability. There's nothing, not 1%. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a disability. We all that. We sexy. We got it popping. We a community that's all that. Yes, we are. Okay. You don't know it. You don't like it. Too bad. We are. That's your fault. Okay. But if you don't have to know the ins and outs of some of the hardships, why would you just do better? And so that's the only reason why I go into it, talk about it, explain it. Because if I can just touch one person through my story, it was worth it. The nightmares or the the issues that I might have to go through for a couple of days, it's worth it. It's worth it to me.
That was kind of hard. That's probably the
Made me cry, bro. I had to turn my camera off.
all right with your jokes.
I love you, Chuck.
I'm dead serious, bro. I'm serious. The therapy working. It touched me, bro. Like it was real. Like you laying on the ground, you know you were dying. Like a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't know what that feels like, and that's tough.
Yeah, that is. I just have to say that I never really talk about it much, and most people know me. It's like I'm usually smiling, laughing, joking, and playing around. But when I really think about it, that moment where you can't explain what it's like to feel your life leaving you, your own blood coming out of your body. And you think that you're ready. And a lot of younger people think that I'm ready to go because I've accepted that I might not make it to 25. But when you're in that moment, you don't want to be there. It's the most difficult moments that you really can't get out of when you wake up, and you'll live it over and over again. And there's so many little things that trigger it. And it has put your life on pause in so many ways, because I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't just like I had to find myself again, but it was just those little things, watching stuff or hearing things that will put me right back there. And when I was there, I can feel the warmth of my blood leaving me. I could feel the chill of the air. And it was, and even sometimes when I talk about, I'm right back there in those moments. And it is so difficult that I don't want ever anybody that I love to ever know that trauma and that pain, because it can kill you inside. A bullet might not take your life, but that bullet can change you forever, and you can never come out of it. And I have so many friends who haven't, who couldn't accept it and ended their own life. It started with somebody else doing something to them that wasn't even their fault. I have a few friends who ended their life, and it was something that they would never, it was something that they was just innocent, but they couldn't live the new life that they had. So it's hard. So a lot of times it's just like, I really want people, and that's why we're doing this, is just to understand that what you leave people with can really tear people apart, communities apart, families apart, and sometimes you just don't come out of it. And it's so difficult to come out of it. And it's hard. We've done a lot. I want to show a tribute for Montreal, so we can get to see him, because we talked about him, we learned so much about him, and I'm gonna share this one too, real quick. Hold on 1 second. My bad, I had to start all over. Technical difficulties.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Trust him.
Somehow I know that there's a place above with no more hurt and struggling, free of all atrocities and suffering, because I feel the unconditional love from one who cares enough for me to erase all my burdens and let me be free to fly like a bird, take to the sky. I need you now, Lord, carry me high. Don't let the world break me tonight. I need the strength of you by my side. Fall to this night, can't be so cold. I pray you come and carry me home. Can be the cover where the world never be, a place of peace and all I need, with no war and with no brutality. If we loved each other, we would find victory. But in this harsh reality, sometimes I'm so despondent that I feel the need to fly like a bird, take to the sky. I need you now, Lord, carry me high. Don't let the world break me tonight. I need the strength of you by my side. Sometimes it's like can't be so cold. I pray you come and carry me
He said he'll never forsake you or leave you alone. Trust him.
Hey, teach me how to plug it. Hey, they be like smooth. What? Can you teach me how to dug it? You know why? Cause all the girls love me. Hey, all I need is a beat that's super bumpin'. And for you to back it up and dump it. Get it? Put your arms out front, lean side to side. They gon' be on you when they see you hit that Dougie ride. Ain't nobody getting with my bro from on the side. He go by Bubba and he hit that death like thunder. Okay, I ain't from Dallas, but I deep town boogie. I show my moves off to everybody trying to do me. I lead the functions and all the ladies trying to screw me. Now you just do you, and I'ma do me all day. Dudes love to hate, so they try to screw me. Females be stuck to me, I think they try to glue me. I make the party shine bright when it started glooming. This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it.
Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie.
Everybody love me. Everybody love me. Everybody love me. You ain't messing with my Dougie.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. You know, so we have a lot of. I just wanted to first, before we move on a little bit, I want to thank Glenn Holston for he filmed all of our videos for the group, and Bud Clayman, he's the publisher, and Gabriel Nathan is the chief editor for OC 87 Recovery Diaries, and Ron Clay for RC Graphics for supporting us well and everybody with disability in the disability community. So I just really want to right now, I just want to open it up for anybody that have questions that are any of the participants. You can turn your mics on, or you can just type in questions and ask anybody anything that you want. And don't be shy.
Chuck, how old are you for real?
Oh my God, don't even do that. I'm 50. Thank you. And a lot of times I want everybody to talk about. We talked about a group. It's called the Will Family. It was a group of guys that were falling with spinal cord injuries, who have the wheelchairs, and we going on a little bit hiatus as a group. So we should be starting right back up soon. where it was just a family. We used to go down to Carousel House. You know, Carousel House is closing, but we're gonna try to find somewhere else to meet when we come back public. But it was just a group of guys who were living with spinal cord injuries that shared our lives, and we were therapy for one another, brothers and sisters. And I tell you, as somebody, I think I was the most senior person in the group. Well, no, it was one more person. It was we ain't going. He was a little bit more senior than me. I'm not gonna call him out because he'd probably be ready to fight me. But for 30 years, over 30 years of being in the chair, it helped me, and it was therapeutic. So when people tell you that therapy don't help and being around friends that really understand you and that you can be open with, you need that. Because sometimes you need to have those conversations and say those things that most people really don't get, that don't understand. You really need to.
You okay, Mr. Charles? I'm sorry.
Okay, I know that if you really need a group to. Mark, if you can turn your mic on and you can ask a question.
I just want to say thank you for everyone for sharing your stories. I learned a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I like to participate and come to Disability Pride, because I learn things that I don't normally know about. So I thank you all for sharing your stories, and importantly too, I thank the committee for putting a wide variety of topics together, and also a shout out to the interpreters. Thank you very much.
Great. And I want people to know this is not going to be the end of some of our conversations around gun violence for Disability Pride. We're trying to work on probably one a month to talk to some younger people and just everybody as a board. I mean, and just, yeah, everybody as a board, and just help people, because sometimes you just don't know where to go, what to do. And having a safe place, that's what Disability Pride is. A safe place where people can share and be open. And we take if you feel like it's something that can help you and it's around gun violence and things like that, you can always reach out to the board, Disability Pride. My email is Chuck. Okay. Yes, you can somebody asked, can you ask questions in the chat too? You're more than welcome to ask questions any way you want to, and we'll address them. We're going to be having some more conversations around gun violence and tackling other subjects, like talking to youth who are subjected to gun violence. And we can use the Chuck at disabilitypridephiladelphia.org. It's in the chat. So it's Chuck at disabilitypridepa.org. If you want to reach out to me, and if anybody on the panel you want to have further conversations with to get some guidance, I'll make sure you can reach Tim, or you can reach us at Disability Pride, and we can figure out ways to help, because it's this gun violence thing is all hands on deck. You can't just say it's one person. You can't say it's the city. You can't say it's the police. You can't say it's the parents. You have to, everybody right now has to really be engaged in this process, because that's the only way we're going to make some changes. And that's what we need to do, because bullets have no name, and they can hit your loved one and change your entire life, even though they might not be involved in anything. Okay. But anybody have any more questions? I see Fee. Fee, you want to act? Yeah, Fee said this will probably be great. If you can, don't be shy. Anybody can come on. I want to thank my sisters. They're here too. Gwen and Sharon. And I thank my nephew, Zion.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who gave up the most precious gift you have, your personal story, to be with us tonight. I think it's such a gift that you shared, and I'm just so impressed with all of you. So thank you very much.
And that's Glenn, everyone, who actually was the director. Glenn, tell everybody who you are.
Now I'm a documentary director. Yeah, and the group allowed me to join them right before COVID. I started to attend the live meetings, and then when COVID hit, they met virtually, and they allowed me to be with them. And I'm so grateful because it's been such a rewarding time. And Dee, I would just want to say that sharing your stories may be painful, but it's so impactful. And I know that people listening are moved and will think about your son, as I will. So you've done a good job of sharing his memory tonight.
Thank you.
And it was, I know that it was really hard for everyone to open themselves up and be so transparent. And Dr. Comfort, I know that we've had a lot of conversations about gun violence in your world. Do you want to share some more information, or you want to share some things about yourself or how your feelings are?
No, I'm really appreciative of being invited to be part of this panel, and the stories and the way they were done were so moving. You know, as much as I see the tragedies around violence, you know, a forum like this just humanizes it even more. And I think sometimes that gets lost when we see the news and hear statistics, and that it's individuals who are going through this, and not only individuals, but their families. And I think perhaps even more than victims of violence, it's the families that are involved, and the way the family dynamics change, and parents and children and everybody else and caregivers are all affected. I think sometimes gets ignored, and the stories of the families, you know, is often untold. So thank you everybody for sharing your stories, and I was glad I was able to be a part of this forum.
And Randy, do you want to share anything? Because I know that you're doing a lot of work in conflict resolution. Is there any way that somebody could like reach you or the Human Relations Commission if they needed to have somebody come out and talk?
The Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, we have our community relations division that works in teaching conflict resolution workshops to groups, as well as doing like neighborhood mediations, neighbor disputes and such. The best way you can reach is through our intake office, and that's, you can reach them at 215-686-4670. Or you could just Google Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations just to find us. Or you can, we do have, find us on social media at Philly PCHR, Facebook and Instagram. Not the most active, but we're working on it. So you can find us there too.
Yeah. And Glenn, could you, I'm sorry, Glenn. Randy, could you give that information just one more time?
Sure. Our number is in the chat, but it's 215-686-4670. Again, you can Google our agency, the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, or our you can find us on Facebook or Instagram and Twitter at Philly PCHR.
Okay, great, thanks. And we have any Leon and Dee, y'all want to share anything else?
Oh, thanks a lot, Chuck, for this opportunity. You know, I appreciate you, bro, for life. And I hope somebody was touched by this. You know, I hope this brings awareness to put the guns down. And that's our goal. Put the guns down. And if you've been affected by this, we're here for
you. Yeah, indeed.
That's true.
Yeah, we thank you so much.
And I thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and I want you and everybody on the panel, we are here for you. And if there's anything or anybody that's in the that's viewing this, just reach out if we can kind of point you in a direction to get you some support or some help. That's what we're here for. And all this presentation is being recorded, and it will be posted on Disability Pride YouTube. So you can share it. I mean, this is gonna be some tools that can teach people in your community. You can sit down with your kids and watch it, and it's good to have a it can be a conversation starter, you know. and give them an overview of what gun violence actually can do to people and how it can really change their lives, because that's why we did this. Because when you watch the news, you'll hear a short story, or you see a snippet, but then that's it. And this is really give people to be a voyeur view into the life of gun violence. Felicia, you wanted to say something? Just you can turn your mic and your camera on if you want to talk.
So I'm not camera ready, so I'll just keep I'll keep the mic on. I would say that, first of all, thank you all for your openness. Thank you all for bringing us into your life. Chuck, you know, I'm already a part of your life. You know, he's my son's godfather, he's amazing. The School District of Philadelphia really needs to, if you have not reached out to them, really should reach out to them and see if you can get into the schools. By me teaching, you know, I facilitate the Great and Dare program, and that's a curriculum-based program. Our students, our young people need real lifetime examples and, you know, something that would just hit home. You know, they hear about gun violence, they see, you know, they know, okay, put the guns down, but the aftermath, you know, what could happen, you know, and that there's life after it, but we don't want them to, you know, get there or be there within that situation. So I just feel like if you have not reached out to the School District of Philadelphia to have some type of platform there, that would be an amazing start, because being in the school district and just touching, you know, in classes and touching some of these students, this is amazing. I mean, they really need to hear and see firsthand the possible results of what could happen. So thank you.
Yeah, and for you, I know you shared a little bit. Can you share like what your work is?
Sure, I am a Philadelphia police officer, and I work in the community relations unit, where mainly I'm in the schools and I facilitate the DARE program, which is drug abuse resistance education, as well as the GREAT program, gang resistance education and training program.
So we might be calling you for our next little presentation, so look out for that, and look for Felicia probably supporting, because we really need to get into. We did this because we wanted to try to catch young people where they are, and it's on social media, and this is where they live. So this can be something that you can share with anybody that's young in your family that might not watch the news or might not read the paper or do anything, but they live on social media. So you can really, when we post this link up, stay alert to Disability Pride PA. When we get this together, you can just send it to the young ones in your family that you might feel like is troubled and just don't get what's going on. You can just send them this link and let them view it on their own terms and in their own time. And hopefully it'll touch them and change their outlook on what gun violence is. And you can share with anybody. Please just let us know, and we're down to do whatever we can. And also with some of the guys that was participated in the videos, there's a couple more too that we can call out to go to schools and do whatever you need, so that we can, like I said, all hands on deck with this gun violence thing. That's the only way it's going to change, and all voices need to be heard. You know, and I thank you all. And we have 6 more minutes left. We don't have to push it all the way to 8 o'clock. But if anybody else want to say anything, please, we're gonna end it with whoever want to say or any last words.
Also, like Chuck said, you know, for a voyeuristic view into what life is like, me and my wife, we have like a YouTube channel. It's basically documenting everyday life, just as a man, as a husband, as a father. You know, it's funny stuff, rough stuff, it's everything. So it's basically showing you still got to live after this. And it's not easy, it's not hard, but you know, the hope in it is that, you know, you wake up the next day and do it all over again. And that's at Harris Hope and Humor. That's on all the social medias and all like that.
Yeah, and I think we put a hashtag for it. You can, if you just reach out to us, we can make sure you get the link to his whole platform. And B
has a podcast, right?
And yeah, and B has a podcast. It's called Blessed for. Oh my God.
Yeah, Connect, right?
Yeah, it's on the. Yeah. Yep. What you can do is actually on all of the hashtags, that we actually shared. All of my little notes and everything is not popping up right now. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Chuck,
Yes.
this has been very informative. Great
Thank you.
job.
Who's that? Ray?
Chuck, you know me.
Yeah, that's right. Ray Decker.
Chucky, that's Dad.
Oh, that's Dad? Oh, wow. Hey, Dad, thanks. That's my father. I thought that was somebody. Because Ray is funny. Oh, my God. B's information is blessed for... Oh, my God. I'll make sure I put it in everybody's information in, okay? I'm sorry. All right. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for all your support. And we support you all. And
Chuck, thanks for being a leader with Disability Pride, and thank you for chairing our board. We're just really grateful for you and all the work that you do. Thank you to all the speakers for sharing a part of your life with us. We look forward to what's next, you know, more conversations and more action. So thank you, everyone.
thank you, everybody. Y'all enjoy your night. Stay safe and all this heat and all this good stuff. And I love y'all. And y'all, thank you for helping me out because I couldn't have did it without you all. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Night.
All right.
Yeah,
Y'all have a
nice
great
meeting
night.
you again.
Everyone.
All right. See you.
Bye, Horton family.